Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Tash.
And I'm Damo.
And together we are so excited to bring you the Bari Chronicles. Clearly, so are the dogs.
Yes.
It's very exciting.
But that's all right.
That's okay.
It's one of those days.
It is. Now, we had all kinds of awesomeness planned, but today we are throwing all of that aside and we are bringing you the Bari shit talk.
Love it.
Honestly, both Damo and I have had some pretty challenging times over the last couple of weeks. So we thought, hey, what? Let's unpack it. Let's talk about it, because life post weight loss surgery is incredible, amazing, it's good, it's all of those things, but it's not always sunshine, rainbows and unicorn farts.
That's right. And since losing weight, I know for me, I put myself out there a lot more. I'm more active. I do a lot more things, but it also means that I have a lot more things that are out of my control that can come up in just everyday life, that once upon a time, sitting on my couch, not doing anything, every day was the same.
Yeah. And, you know, let's preface this by saying that you had like a catastrophic back injury many years ago. And so you've been dealing with chronic pain for a very long time. I too have had a back injury and a shoulder injury, and you know, you've had multiple back surgeries. So it's definitely been one of those things where we did the weight loss surgery to hopefully assist with other things. We got mixed results, but we still, in some respects, bring our past life with us into our new life. And that's what we've both been walking out over the last few weeks.
Yeah, it's funny because so often, and I think some of this comes back to the obesity bias, but in my past, so many medical professionals were lose the weight, all these issues are going to go away. For me, my back injury, the pain got worse, and that sent me down a path of multiple back surgeries and procedures. Just for my back alone, I've been under anaesthetic over 30 times.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. So when you stack all of that up, there's going to be times where in our post-weight loss surgery life, things can just unravel a little bit and we don't even necessarily realise that it's happening. I know we had definite plans for the things that we were going to be talking about today on this podcast, but Damo's had a pain flare-up, and to be perfectly honest, I've had a really challenging couple of weeks as well. My dehydration got the better of me.
Now, you ended up in hospital, didn't you?
I did end up in hospital. So that was just basically, I picked up gastro, well, we think it was, and I was just mass shitting for nearly a week. And it was just multiple times a day. And because of the tiny tummy, because of obviously portion restriction and fluid restriction, I wasn't able to rehydrate myself as fast as everything was coming out. So I did end up in a hospital. And then I had a week of having to have purees to get my insides hopefully calm. And I'm coming out the other side of that now, and still my weight is the lowest that it's been ever, which has been a challenge. It's been scary. And look, it's not to focus on the negatives, but sometimes we do come across the negatives. So what do we do when these things happen? How do we walk out our life when it isn't all rainbows and unicorn fart?
Yeah, because, and Tash said to me just earlier, look, if you don't want to do a podcast today, you know, we can not worry about it. But I think I've spent so much of my life putting things off, and I'll do that next week, I'll do it another day, that I really get sick of always putting my life on hold because
absolutely.
of a pain flare up or because I'm not feeling great.
Yeah.
I'm done with doing that.
Yep.
But at the same time, I have to pace myself and accept that there are some limitations. So, yeah, it was important to me to still turn up to do a podcast and to be running my business. But it's also important for us all to be able to know when to back off a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, over the last little while, I've basically hit the ground running. So 2023 has probably been one of the most busy, incredibly challenging, stretching couple of months that I've experienced in my 45 years of life.
Wow.
And I've sat back yesterday afternoon thinking, oh my gosh. And I actually went outside, lay on the grass, grounded myself for a little bit, had a cry, and thought, no, it's okay. I can do this. Once upon a time, I used to hide behind my obesity, and I would have absolutely been in the pantry with a jar of peanut butter, probably some ice cream as well. And
a bit of Nutella.
I would have been drowning my sorrows and my stress with food. I couldn't do that yesterday. So I just had to sit with my emotions, had to feel them. And today I found that when I got on the scales this morning and I saw the lightest number that it's been, it was stressful. And I've just had to come to that realization as well, that sometimes we have to do what's right for us. And for me, I hear what you're saying, Damo. You know, you had to show up for yourself, and that's awesome. For me, I think I'm needing to probably simmer down a little.
Yeah.
Which is so hard for me because I go hell for leather. If I'm in, I'm all in. And that's just the way that I seem to run life now. It's the way that my brain seems to be wired. I'm so incredibly grateful for the opportunities that I have now that I tend to push myself, probably past breaking point.
And isn't that easy to do? I mean, you know, we find ourselves so limited for so long, and we stop ourselves from doing stuff just because we don't feel worthy or whatever because of our size. But it shouldn't stop us.
No, it shouldn't. It shouldn't. But it did. For me, for years, I just felt so unworthy. I felt so horrible and dreadful within myself.
What I'm loving about even this today, I'm exploring a new side of myself that will actually admit when I'm not up to something, because I've always been the sort of person that would just hide it and push through, but sometimes we get to a point where we can't.
That's actually so true. And right now I'm just trying to find something on my computer that I wrote. It was only last night when I was sitting in bed. I don't even know if I'm going to be able to find it. But I was sitting in bed thinking about just how hard I used to push myself, but how I never ever gave myself any grace at all in situations. I learned really, really young that there was a bias, or that there is a bias against or with obesity. And for me, I guess, I found that if I didn't make excuses, I could sort of just fly under the radar and people would make less comments. There'd be less pushback. There'd be less backlash. I wouldn't be bullied as much, things like that. So I just always tended to stay quiet and just push through.
Yeah, well, I always found that two terms that always went together with that sort of bullying was fat and lazy.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so it was always a thing to say, okay, I might be fat, but I'm not lazy.
Yeah.
And would always work as hard or harder than the person next to me to try and prove something.
Yeah.
But I think what this journey is showing me is that so long as I'm happy, and it really doesn't matter whether other people are approving of me or not.
Yeah, I'm still struggling with that one. I have days, weeks, months where I'm fine, and then other days I think, oh my God, I'm scared, I'm frightened. And I realise that it's the old voices in my head. I mean, you're 9 years post-op. I'm nearly 5, so I suppose in the next few years I'll probably get to that point too. But I still have those days where I can hear those old thoughts becoming more intrusive. And that's just me being really honest about where I'm at. There are days where it's hard. There are days where it would be easier to, just go and sit in the pantry and try to eat. But honestly, I can't, for a start. My restriction wouldn't let me.
And isn't that the best thing about weight loss surgery?
Yeah, it is.
Really, because the way I'm feeling today and the last couple of days, because what's happened is that with the success of the ketamine infusion that I had, and we'll be having another one at the end of March, I've been able to come off the long-acting painkillers that I've been on for so long.
Yeah.
But as a result, in the middle of a flare-up, I don't have anything that's particularly effective other than the way I'm thinking, my attitude to things, and I know that if I lay around doing nothing, then it gets worse because I'm thinking about it.
Absolutely.
But then getting up and actually doing something is a battle as well.
Yeah.
And I would love to hear from our listeners what some of their strategies are for when they're feeling down or in pain. What do you guys do to sort of push through that and participate in that sort of self-care?
Yeah, participating in life in a really self-honouring, kind way. And that's, I think, the point that I got to yesterday evening when I was lying outside on the grass. I looked at everything that's happened in the last couple of weeks, how I did the hospital thing, but just with things that are going on in other spheres of my life. I was unable to rest like I was supposed to. I was unable to do the things that I knew I needed to do. And when I found myself lying outside on the grass, I thought, no, you know what? No, I'm going to get up. I will go for a little walk. I'm going to make myself some food. I'm going to take care of myself. I'm going to be kind to myself. This morning, and I actually slept last night for the first time in months, which was really great.
That's brilliant.
But this morning I've woken up with a good attitude. I'm determined to participate in the day in a really positive way, to not look at the negatives, which, look, there are some. I'm going to need to work out how to stop this weight loss because I am still eating. Sometimes my malabsorption tends to kick in for whatever reason, it just does. So I probably need to increase my calories a bit, and it's always a fine line. It's always a balance, but I will get there. It just means rethinking things.
And because you have celiac disease, that adds... It makes it a bit more difficult.
Yeah, it adds that layer of difficulty. I mean, look, we all have things, don't we? Every single one of us on this journey, just every single human, we all have different things going on in our lives, but it's about creating the kind of life that we don't need to constantly recover from. Yeah,
and that is really important. I mean, one of the things that I am excited about, and I was a little bit iffy to start with, but I've been accepted into a rehabilitation program for pain patients at the local hospital. And it's their goal to teach us how to do things without causing more pain, without needing a week to recover because we did something over the weekend. And I'm really looking forward to that. I think you have to be in the right sort of mindset to be able to do these sorts of things. And I've participated in these kinds of clinics before. They're all different, but I've never really been open to a lot of the things that they've said because it's like, I'm not going to do that because it's going to hurt. Well, sometimes in life things do hurt.
Especially when we're making those changes, hey?
Yeah.
Especially when we're walking out a challenging time in our lives. It's just those little mindset shifts, the way that we look at things, I've found is just so important. And I guess for me, I've probably always been a little bit of a rain cloud. I tend towards the Eeyore.
I love Eeyore.
Kind of.
He's
I
like my
Eeyore
spirit
too.
animal.
I love Eeyore. Actually, your shirt is giving Eeyore purple. I love it. Yeah. But I tend to, if I let myself, I can really feel down about things that are happening in my physical body at the moment. But it's just that case of continuing to do the things that we know to do, staying in touch with the teams that help us, like you've done with the pain clinic, being in touch with the specialists that we know can help to support our journey, being connected with our support networks, being connected with our friends, and being open and honest with our families about the things that are going on, so that the hard time doesn't become so overwhelming that we just feel like, it's all too much. Yeah,
I think for so many of us, we tend to bottle it up because we think, oh, no one wants to hear it, or everyone thinks I'm faking it. Well, if that's what someone is thinking, if it's what they're thinking, that's not a me problem, that's a them problem.
Yeah.
If I'm going to explain to someone that, I'm having a bad week, well, that's my responsibility right there.
Yeah.
Not to make them believe me and what I've found is that a lot of that anxiety is me thinking that people aren't going to accept it when I say it.
Yeah, or that people won't believe you. And you know what? A lot of that does come back to the obesity bias.
Yeah.
It does. It just comes back to the way that we experience life through years and years of
gaslighting,
being bigger people. And that's something, I suppose, that we just walk out with time. And as we make those changes in our lives.
Yeah, the best thing that I have found is that I've got people around me now that they know that I'm not making it up. And not that it should matter, but it does.
Yeah.
And it's nice when we feel validated and heard and seen, and it makes us feel like a person.
Exactly. So we hope that has helped you guys today. And you know what? We want the Bari Chronicles to be a place where we can discuss our stories. So if you would like to share about your journey, the good and the bad, then please contact us at contact, that's CONTACT, at Bari Chronicles, it's BARICHRONICLES.com. And on our next episode, we're going to be talking with the one and only Jess Hopwood.
I can't wait for that.
It'll be really awesome.
Jess has been helping on the BSA recipes page.
She has.
And she's actually helped me with a few recipes that I've come up with and different things. And she has a great story.
She really does. She's got a very heartfelt, heartwarming type of story, and I just know that you're all going to love her.
Yeah. So we're really looking forward to that one. We hope that you join us. We'd love to hear your comments and have a bit of a discussion about this if you want to drop messages. And we just really hope that everyone has a great week and is taking time out for some self-care.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for listening. Stay safe out there.
Stay safe.